The Mafia series is one of the most notable game series to have cinematic storytelling and gameplay that keeps players hooked for hours on end. The most recent entry in the franchise, Mafia 3, was released back in 2016, and since then, fans have been waiting to see how the series will move forward after the lukewarm response to Mafia 3. So let's break down everything we know about Hangar 13's upcoming Mafia 4, including all the leaks, rumors, and news from Take-Two. All the sources will be linked down below, so make sure to check those out and support. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about Mafia 4. To understand where the series is headed, we need to quickly touch on the history of the franchise. Mafia 1 was developed by Illusion Softworks and was published by Gathering of Developers in 2002. By 2008, the first title had sold 2 million copies worldwide and was received well by fans and critics, which was enough to justify a sequel. Illusion Softworks became 2K Czech in 2008, and they released Mafia 2 in 2010. This time the entry was published by 2K Games. Sales were not released for Mafia 2, but analysts assume that Mafia 2 was closer to just breaking even for 2K. It was a 6-year development time for the game, and that greatly increased the cost, and the game was a hit, but just not the major hit that 2K expected. Then the most current entry, Mafia 3, this time was developed by Hangar 13, which was merged with 2K Czech, so a lot of just the same workers from all three games, but just switching names and becoming new studios. Now, Mafia 3 was met with the most criticism of the entire series. Even though this game was allegedly the fastest selling game for 2K at the time, the game shipped 4.5 million copies in its first week. Now, shipped is not the same as actually selling these copies, but that is a large amount of copies they were expecting to sell. And it must have been a success since they are moving forward with Mafia 4. Now, the first news we got on Mafia 4 started back in April of 2018 from a Kotaku article written by notable game leaker Jason Schreier, when he looked into Mafia 3 and the cancelled plans for Mafia 4. Schreier reported that Hayden Blackman, the creative director and studio head of Hangar 13, went to New York City to meet with Take-Two and the 2K higher-ups about what should be the next game for Hangar 13 and what their plans should look like in the future. He was given the choice to move forward with Mafia 4, or they could make something brand new and create a new IP. It was reported that Blackman chose the new IP, and the reason being that they had always worked on Mafia for all these years, so it makes sense for the studio to try something new, and they had a lot of ideas on what that could be. The new IP they moved forward with was a game called Rhapsody, which obviously never happened. They worked on prototypes. It was going to be an espionage 1980s Berlin game, but then it changed into a musical superhero genre game, then to a normal superhero game, and then with leadership changes and no definitive direction for the game, they decided to scrap the plans and not move forward, and Hangar 13 unfortunately faced layoffs and the future of the company was uncertain. Now, at first, the plan for Mafia 4 was set in Vegas during the 1970s. It was an enthralling vision, a video game take on Martin Scorsese's Casino, set in the glitz and glamour of mob-controlled Sin City. It's easy to imagine what that game might have looked like, fighting enemies on the strip, managing your own casino, and putting your character's name in lights, is the description that Kotaku gives. Now we jump all the way up to November of 2019 when there were leaks from the Truth Teller 1985, an anonymous user on Reddit who claims to have contact with 3 separate sources, 2 of which are former developers at Hangar 13, and the other is a journalist. And that is where all this leaked information comes from. As always, with all the leaks I cover, take it with a grain of salt, but I will say a lot of this information does line up with Jason Schreier's information, so take it however you want, but I'm still going to break it down for the sake of this video. Now, the leak states that the cancelled Mafia 4 plans started development after the final DLC for Mafia 3. The final DLC for the game was released in July 25th, 2017 and was called Sign of the Times. So somewhere between July of 2017 and the Kotaku article in 2018, the game ceased development and was passed on by Hangar 13. So that's the time frame that we're starting to build with this extra context from this leak. Now, the game was cancelled or ceased development until a smaller team of Hangar 13 in Brighton, UK picked up the pitches and prototypes for Mafia 4 and started the development process. After 5 or 6 months of working through internal issues and getting the game to a point where they could move forward, Hangar 13 as a whole decided to bring together all their different branches of the company and create a true sequel that would need every branch of Hangar 13 working on the game except for the Czech Republic branch. Now, the first details of the game say that the game still will indeed take place in 1970s Vegas and will pick up where Mafia 3 left off. Instead, now you will play as a new protagonist and you will be in the Italian mob during the golden years of organized crime. The game will feature a very large map and the story will take place over a decade. It will be a more traditional story for the Mafia franchise without flashbacks or interviews. As for returning characters, none of the sources were able to confirm if we will see returning characters or if we won't. He did go on to say that repetitive missions from Mafia 3 are said to have been removed, and with this title they will have more time to create the game that they wanted to make if Mafia 3 had more development time, and they're implementing a lot of the ideas they wanted to with 3. As for mechanics, there will be an empire building system, which allows you to build, buy out, and expand casinos, which can take a rundown building and turn it into a metropolis. Mafia 4 will be running on the new versions of the Mafia 2 and 3 engine, but massively overhauled, and many of the technical issues that faced Mafia 3 have been fixed. Motion capture for the game started back in early 2019, and the game is expected to be revealed sometime during 2020 with a 2021 release and will be on next generation consoles. Obviously, all timelines are subject to change with the global pandemic, but allegedly this is the timeline that is in place. Then in January of 2020, the Truth Teller 1985 returned to Reddit to give more details about Mafia 4, but this time discussed customization details, and they say they've gotten more details from their contact at Hangar 13 and decided to share the information. They mentioned that there will be a lot of player customization and a lot of different haircut options for the players, and that clothing will also have big variety. You can wear suits, casual attire, and mix and match the two, and allegedly NPCs will comment on the player character's appearance as you pass by them within the game, depending on the outfits you are wearing. The next details they give us is from the business. For the businesses you run, think Mafia 3's DLC bar building in terms of customization choices. Any business you have in your empire you can customize and theme to your liking. You can have a swinging 60s theme or a gloomy rundown theme, plus everything in between. In terms of staff, you will have to go out and recruit and hire staff to work your businesses. The NPCs will have stats that improve the more they work for you, but the higher level they get, the more expensive they are to pay and keep employed. But the higher level they are, the more money they will make you. So it's a risk and reward system, and you kind of have to weigh those and see how you want to move forward. And finally, they also discussed vehicles. The system has been completely reworked and overhauled. Now it is more customized like GTA, Forza, and Crew. Now, this user ends the post saying that they will tease more Mafia details in the coming months. Another detail fans have linked to Mafia is from a Take-Two investor call, which happened earlier this year. Take-Two mentioned multiple new releases from Take-Two's biggest franchises within the next 5 years, which definitely fits into the Mafia type. But if that wasn't enough, Take-Two also said that Hangar 13 is working on a new game. They wouldn't say what the game is, but since we know that Rhapsody they aren't moving forward with, it makes sense that Mafia 4 would be the next choice. Now, the last two stories I want to mention is they did do a remaster for Mafia 2 and 3 and did announce they are doing a complete remake of 1. which is usually indicative of a new entry in a franchise. They are bringing in a new generation of fans and catching them up in the series. So far, the remasters are not amazingly well received, but over time that could change, and it also is a good way to test the community response for future games. So I think all of this for sure ties together, and it's no accident we're seeing this now. The last story I want to mention is what can we expect out of the story of Mafia 4, and could we see any clues in the endings of Mafia 3? Now, I know a lot of fan response so far has been around returning characters from Mafia 3 and what ending Hangar 13 will move forward with. If you aren't familiar, there were 3 endings in Mafia 3 available, which the fans titled Rule Alone, which is when the main character takes the entire operation for himself, rule together. He's not just ruling alone, he's ruling with a crew of people, and then leave town. I'll link all 3 endings down below, so check those out if you haven't already, and I'm not sure which one Hangar 13 will move forward with, if they will include this at all, but it will be interesting to see how they handle this. And with that, that is everything we know about Mafia 4. I'm very excited to see what Hangar 13 is going to do for the upcoming entry, and if the leaks are correct, it sounds like they have heard the player feedback for Mafia 3 and are willing to change and truly want to make a game that they're proud of and add in these features they've wanted to add in for years. As always, make sure to like and share this video, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.